All right, welcome into another episode of Always Talkin Ball. As always, I'm Tyler Nohe. He's Lance Barton, and today we are ready to unveil our final Power 4 quarterback rankings, where we have saved arguably, and let me tell you, it is definitely arguable, as you all both showed us on TikTok, Instagram, X, all that stuff. We're going to rank the top 8 quarterbacks in the SEC, just like the previous 3. We're going to do it with a mix of how we think they're going to perform in 2025. We'll also take into account just a little bit. I mean, I'd say 25%, what they've done in the past, probably 75-25 split there. Before we get started, I know we got some listeners on here who love to fish, and specifically they love to fish for smallmouth bass. My good buddy, Josh Shrinko. And if you live in Indiana, you follow competitive fishing, all that stuff, you definitely know his name. He sent me this shirt to wear on the pod. Smallies, smallmouth bass. And let me tell you guys, it is so dang comfortable. You got to head over to achiganbrand.com, ACHIGAN brand.com. Just look around at some of their stuff, man. They've got shirts like this. They've got lures. They've got buffs. They've got hats. You name it, man. They got so much stuff over there. Josh, I know you're watching on YouTube, and I know that our followers, listeners, they would love it if you just threw us a little, promo code just to get something going, like a little 10% off, a little 15% off for the listeners out there. What do you say, man? Let's do it. That's achiganbrand.com, ACHIGAN brand.com. Just for good measure, he's got his own podcast too, man. It's called Smalley Talk, and he details some of his crazy fishing trips that he takes with his buddies. Dude, they sound wild. I'm not much of a fisherman myself, but they just sound absolutely wild. It's just an overall good time on that show. All right, Lance, let's get into the SEC quarterbacks, man. It's SEC time. It just means more. Our number one quarterback in the SEC, none other than LSU quarterback Garrett Nussmeier. This is a guy who really just patiently waited his turn, right? Right after Jaden Daniels left, Nussmeier gets the keys. He does nothing else but throw for over 4,000 yards. I believe he's the leading returning passer in college football.
Yep.
But we know he's a gunslinger, right? He threw 12 picks last year, had some really questionable games, especially against, a solid team like Alabama. Struggled a little bit in the opener, which LSU does every year. Struggled a little bit against USC, but he's got all the tools. He's got all the potential back for another year to, again, be one of the best quarterbacks in the SEC and vault his name up to top 5, top 10 status in NFL mock drafts in 2026.
Yeah, there's not a throw on the field that this dude can't make. There's not a throw on the field that Nussmeier cannot make. And, he tries to fit the ball into small windows. Sometimes that gets him into a little bit of trouble. But, really the last couple of years, whoever the trigger man was at LSU, especially the last 2 years, I mean, man, they've pretty much felt like that all of the weight of the world and the pressure was on their shoulders at the quarterback position for LSU, because they felt like they almost have to score on just about every single possession because of how booty the LSU defense was 2 years ago. It was a little bit better last year under Blake Baker, but still not very good, especially in the bigger games. But they did take a step forward year over year. But now I don't think that Nussmeier is going to feel like that he has to try to win the game with every single throw that he makes. There's not all of the pressure. They're not going to have to score on every single possession this year because LSU's defense should be a little bit better. And they're actually probably going to have a run game this year with K. Durham and a little few of those backs. But I love the wide receiver play, dude. The skill position level at LSU, we're going to have more on that here in a few weeks. The skill position level at LSU is just absolutely ridiculous, just like it is just about every single year there. But, like you said, Nussmeier threw for over 4K last year, leading returning passer in the country. I mean, I've seen mock drafts. I've seen some have him as the first overall pick, and I've seen some have him as a top 10 pick. Obviously, the biggest knock on him is the turnover bug. I do think with his overall being a veteran, being a coach's son, his dad's been an OC at the highest level of college football in the NFL. Isn't he the OC for the Saints?
He's the OC for the Saints, man. I brought up that scenario where if the Saints, tank this year, just are really bad. They'll potentially have to choose between the offensive coordinator's son or Arch Manning, like Archie Manning's son, the
Right.
patron saint there of New Orleans. So that would be wild.
Yeah, not Archie Manning's son, but yeah, Archie Manning's grandson.
Grandson.
Yeah,
You know what I mean. You know what I
we
mean.
know what you meant. But I mean, the next couple of guys that we're going to talk about, obviously, completely different types of quarterbacks than what Nussmeier is.
Yeah.
So it depends on what you value in a quarterback. But as far as standing in the pocket, distributing the football to your playmakers, making plays, being able to take on the rush and make throws. Like you see some of Nussmeier's throws with this D lineman barreling down right in front of his face, and he's making some just big time throws. Yeah, I mean Nussmeier's as good as there are in college football, and I think he's going to have obviously a huge year for the Tigers this year.
Hey, real quick, look at the bottom of the screen and hit that subscribe button. If it's already hit, we appreciate you very much. If not, it doesn't cost you a thing, and we appreciate you as well. Thank you.
Number 2 in the SEC quarterback rankings, DJ Lagway, Florida Gators. I've seen a lot of lists with him at number 1. I mean, really, these first three guys we have are kind of interchangeable there.
Yep.
Lagway, dude, all the potential in the world. He showed up last year on the scene kind of against Samford, threw for over 450 yards. I mean, it's Samford. What are you going to do, right? But
still, true freshman, that being your first start ever, like second game of the year in your true freshman year. I don't care if it's – that's hard to do against air, much less an actual opponent.
Yeah. And then he, gets a starting gig because Graham Mertz gets injured. And, man, he started off that Georgia game so well. Like, I mean, granted his numbers are, 2 for 6, but – it just his presence being there in that game against Georgia. There was a lot of people who thought if he was going to be playing that rest of that game, they would have won that game, or at least they would have been a lot closer than 34-20.
Well, I mean, dude, remembering back on that game, I mean, they were absolutely, like, I remember sitting there watching that live, you and I texting about it and stuff. Like, Florida looked like that they were not in control, but looked like that game was absolutely like every bit as just as much Florida could win that game as Georgia at that moment in time. And yeah, him going down, that was brutal. That's literally his only loss, bro, as a starter.
Yeah, I mean,
as a starter, he didn't finish the game. He's 6-1.
He came back.
Starter.
Yeah, he came back and he played against LSU and Ole Miss the final 2 SEC games, and like his stats weren't really anything like super special. I mean, 50% completion, 58% completion, like that can definitely improve. But like some of the throws that he made in the game that people have seen him make in practice and all that, like not a lot of other dudes can make those throws.
Dude, he's top 5 in yards per attempt, and he's top 5 in yards per completion. So I understand his completion percentage might be down just a little bit in comparison to a few other QBs. The dude's throwing the piss out of it down the field, throwing a lot of deep balls, throwing a lot of downfield shots. And, dude, the other day when I was sick as hell and acting like a big baby when I was texting you like last week.
Yeah.
I was sitting here laying on the couch and just flipping through stuff on YouTube, checking out some other podcasts and other shows. And I saw on the ESPN college football YouTube channel, they had these awesome, like you could watch these highlights. It was like 10-minute highlights of, and it was DJ Lagway. It was of another quarterback we're going to talk about here in a second. You had Cade Klubnik and all these different players that you could watch like full season highlights of them last year. It basically had just about every big time throw and touchdown pass and stuff that DJ Lagway had going game by game. Dude, some of the damn throws that this cat was making as a true freshman, just nuts, man.
Yeah.
And your boy, I don't know if he's actually your boy or not, but I'm gonna call him your boy because he's playing QB for your Colts. Sometimes he plays QB for your Colts. But did you see the photo? He's been training some with Anthony Richardson this offseason during the summer. Did you see the photo of DJ Lagway standing next to Anthony Richardson recently?
He's a big boy.
Huge, dude. Anthony Richardson looks like an alien, honestly.
Anthony Richardson, yeah, he's on another planet.
Right. And Lagway, dude, one of them is lying about their size. Like, I mean, Richardson's listed at like 6'6" or some shit. And Lagway is Lagway's listed as like 6'3", 238 or whatever. Dude, Lagway looked every bit as big as Richardson in that photo. So, yeah, man, with the weapons that they're going to have around him at Florida this year, it being year 2 in that system, year 2 playing college football, he's not a true freshman anymore. He's obviously coming off an injury, but all reports coming out are saying that he's going to be fine this fall. dude, with the running back, with the running game, with Jaden Ball, that offensive line, just all the stars, man, are aligning for Lagway in Florida to have a big time year. Obviously, the schedule is what everybody's. But the way I look at this is the way you look at it too. Dude, Lagway is going to have a great opportunity to have some big time moments because he's going to play in so many marquee matchups and play against so many good teams that if this dude goes out and does what he did against LSU last year, beats LSU and he beats Ole Miss, he's beating teams like that, top 15, top 20 caliber teams over and over again. Yeah, man, the sky's the limit for this dude.
I think as of right now, Florida does not have like a noon game on their schedule and like all the flex opportunities. So like you said, he's going to have opportunities against good teams and he's going to be in 3:30 and 7:30 like primetime windows to show it too. So like, obviously I don't think he's really a dark horse candidate for Heisman, but like he's definitely deservedly in the top 5, top 10.
Absolutely. 100%. Couldn't agree more.
Number 3, LaNorris Sellers, South Carolina. This is a guy, again, we could have had him 2, we could have had him 1. Yeah. He is absolutely dynamic quarterback, took a huge step forward last year. Obviously, struggled a little bit at the beginning of the season, playing against Old Dominion, just didn't look like himself. But man, he really got things rolling, as South Carolina got things rolling back half of the season where they were kind of like, hey, we're in this race too for the college football playoff. Obviously, he shows up in the second half of that Alabama game, does some work on the road at Oklahoma, A&M at home. Like that was like just the absolute, just a crazy game.
Agreed. To your point, you're talking about how he got better as the year went on. In the last 8 games, South Carolina was 6-2. Sellers was 68% completion percentage, averaged 307 total yards per game, 20 touchdowns, and 4 picks. So yeah, dude, you're right. The way he performed that back half of the season for South Carolina during that win streak, like it's no secret is the reason. Like obviously South Carolina's defense was solid. Rocket Sanders, the tailback position was solid, but a huge reason why South Carolina was in the mix at all at the end of the year for the college football playoff, that last spot, was because of the way Sellers performed down the stretch. I mean, dude, again, is another one. On that day that I was sick, I did watch his highlight deal just like I did DJ Lagway's. Dude, some of the throws that this cat can make and his dual threat ability. I mean, man, I know this is going to sound like a mouthful, man, and I'm not saying that this guy is Cam Newton, okay? That's not what I'm saying. But he really might be the first one that, truthfully, with his size and his overall ability, that when people make comps, you hear sometimes people they've made comps to other QBs in the past to Cam Newton. This guy really might be. Like his overall dual threat ability and the way, I'm not saying he's going to be Cam Newton, but his overall dual threat ability is the closest thing with his size and ability. It's like, what does he list like? 6'3", 245, 6'4", 240.
Yeah, dude. I think if you pulled SEC defensive coordinators, he is the scariest quarterback in the conference to defend.
100%. Because I mean, Lagway can move too, but obviously he doesn't have the same running ability as Taylor. I mean, Sellers is arguably the best tailback on the field when he takes off running.
And he wears rec specs.
Yeah. He did away with those at the end of the year. If you remember, people were like, I remember I actually bet on them against Clemson.
He got that LASIK.
Sorry, Clemson in that season finale last year.
Don't anger the coot now.
Dude, I remember texting you going, bro, I may try to cash out my bet now. He's not rocking the rec specs. Yeah. I was like, he's got to rock the rec specs. But he ended up having over 100 yards rushing, and they won that game.
No big deal.
Yeah, he was fine. But yeah, dude, I think all 3 of these guys that we just talked about, if you have one of them ranked number 1 over the other one, I'm not going to sit there and really argue with you. I'm not. I get it. I understand. My question for Sellers this year will be, if the tailback that they brought in from Utah State, if he's not eligible, because I think he's still got some eligibility issues, they're trying to get him approved to play. What will the running game and what will his wide receiver group, his wide receiver unit, like how are those things around him going to help him? Because the first 2 guys we just named, overall, the talent around them and the weapons around them are better than what South Carolina is going to have. again, not saying South Carolina's receivers and the run game and all that's going to suck. I just don't know that it's the same as some of these other guys that we've got on this list, period. So what is Sellers may have to be complete Superman to make South Carolina have the type of year that they think that they're trying to have.
Yeah, you talked about, comps for LaNorris Sellers. This next guy, he's been comped, with Peyton Manning, Eli Manning, and for good reasons, because it's Arch Manning. We're rolling with him at number 4. I guess some people may be surprised he's not higher. Some people may be surprised he's not lower. He's one of those guys that's kind of in between. He's not, he's got all the potential in the world, right? He's going to have all the weapons in the world. He's played sparingly, but he's had an opportunity to sit in Steve Sarkisian's system for 2 years, sit behind a very good college quarterback in Quinn Ewers. He didn't flee. He didn't transfer to Bama, Georgia, wherever. I'm sure was offering him all kinds of money. He stayed at Texas. He got, a couple starts here and there when Ewers was banged up, albeit against, UL Monroe and Mississippi State. He looked solid, as he should, against those teams. And then he was brought in, later on in games, as packages to show off his legs. So we know he's got all the tools. We know he's a pretty solid dual threat quarterback. And he's going to be thrown right into the fire right at the first game against Ohio State at night, or actually big noon kickoff probably, right, in Ohio Stadium. So, I'm one that's really high on Arch Manning. I think a lot of people are, but a lot of people are still out there saying, you know what, I got to see it before I'm ready to jump on.
Yeah, I actually had the guy that we're going to talk about next after this ahead of Arch, but I had Arch at the next spot. But you really actually, I'm going to, through some text messages and a phone conversation that we had here recently, I thought you had a really good take on this. I really do. I even told you, I was like, damn, man, that's actually really smart and don't disagree with it.
You didn't say that often, folks.
Yeah, I know. Then we go back and forth and argue with each other just like any two good friends would do and debate sports and whatnot, obviously, on air and off air. But if Texas, right, let's remove the name Manning. If Texas had a 6'4", 225-pound, 5-star number 1 quarterback in the country coming out of high school that put up the numbers that he put up last year in the 3 starts that he got, I know that the 3 defenses he played were trash. Okay, I get it. But still, he performed really well in those 3 games. If all of that being said, if going into this year, if the quarterback had the last name Johnson and was 6'4", 225 pounds, put up the numbers that he put up last year, was a 5-star number 1 ranked quarterback in the country coming out of high school, about to run Sark's system with all the weapons around him, was a freaking bull when he runs the football and has a rocket for an arm when he throws the football, what would we all be saying about that guy?
Yeah.
Exactly. We'd all be ranking the absolute piss out of him so high. We'd be hyping him up. And I know a lot of people are hyping up Arch Manning, and rightfully so. You should be. But the people that are so hesitant on him, that are honestly not ranking him, I think are not ranking him because they're going too far the other direction because his last name's Manning.
Yeah.
I think if his last name was Johnson and he wasn't related to Peyton Manning or whatnot and the Manning family in general, I think those people would be ranking him much higher. So I think that his name gets him a lot of clout in good ways and bad ways. But as far as Arch is concerned, dude, the way he's handled everything has been pretty remarkable. I mean, when you hear him talk, he's so humble. You heard him the other day, dude. He was even saying the other day, honestly, I don't think that I deserve some of the accolades that I've been getting because I haven't gone out and earned it yet. Mm-hmm. And he said, that's what I'm obviously going to be trying to do this year. But I'm going to want one last thing before we move on. Dude, I got to give a shout out to Blaine Crane on the Crane & Company show. I told you about that. I told you to go check this show out. That stuff.
Yep.
Dude, when they were ranked doing their quarterback list and doing their draft, and he ranked Arch and drafted him where he did, I don't disagree with him, bro, and what he said. He was like, dude, Arch has the hood now.
The hood respects him.
The hood respects Arch. So if the hood respects Arch, then we got to respect Arch. And what he's talking about is his wide receiver 1, Ryan Wingo, who was the 5-star number 1 receiver in the country coming out of high school 2 years ago. He was true freshman last year. He's going to have a big year this year for the Horns if he stays healthy. He's from right here in my backyard, in the St. Louis area, just on a different area of St. Louis than where I live, just being honest. And some of the photos that were coming out of Arch going with Wingo to Wingo's old high school to his high school camps. Dude, Arch was just like beat bopping up and down the street, man, in the hood, taking photos with the local community. And yeah, so if Arch has the respect of the hood, he's got ATB's respect too, and Blaine Crane's respect. I agree with you, Blaine.
Number 5 on the SEC quarterback rankings, John Mateer, Oklahoma. And just continuing on with the old Crane and company, I mean, this is a guy, Jake said he was his number 1 Heisman pick right now. I believe he said on that same episode. And this is a guy that, like, we could, I mean, again, you could rank anywhere on this list because there will some people will say, you know, he did it at Washington State. That's great, right? He's got to do it against this competition. And you got the reference of like, okay, Cam Ward was at Washington State. He did it. He moved up a level, but like, come on. We know the ACC is not the SEC when it comes to defenses. So props to Cam Ward, got number 1 pick in the draft. Like, that's the question. Can John Mateer duplicate his number? I mean, if he can duplicate his numbers of almost 3,200 yards passing and over 800 yards rushing,
and 44 total touchdowns.
Yeah, and Oklahoma, with that schedule being so freaking tough, if they get to 9, if Oklahoma gets to 9 wins, they're for sure in the college football playoff, or at least they should be.
Yeah,
we know how they view strength of schedule, but like with arguably the toughest schedule in the nation, like it's just sky's the limit for John Mateer, and obviously having Ben Arbuckle there with him is awesome.
Yeah, bringing his OC Arbuckle with him. The weapons he's going to have around him, like Deion Burks and Giovanni Gibson, who's a transfer from Arkansas Pine Bluff that had over 1,200 yards receiving last year. The run game with Jaden Knight and Javante Barnes. And just, again, dude, if I obviously understand that a lot of people did not watch John Mateer play a lot of football last year because I'm sure most people weren't just dialed into Wazoo games.
Yeah.
You know, I watched the game against Boise. I watched the game like live. I watched the game against Boise. Watched the game in the Apple Cup. And I can't remember what other game it was that he played in. No, Texas Tech. Caught some of the game against Texas Tech. He had like 190 yards rushing in that game against Texas Tech. And that was what, I mean, the throws in, again, he's big-time quarterback. All these guys can obviously throw the football. We're not going to rank somebody that can't throw the damn ball. But you want to talk about a hard-nosed, tough, like throwback running the football. Dude, this guy is not afraid of contact. That might be my biggest worry on him is staying healthy. Like taking on some of these defensive linemen and linebackers in the SEC. I mean, again, that's going to be different for him, and he's going to run the ball. You're not going to take away one of the things he does really well. Like you said, over 800 yards rushing last year. So him staying healthy will be paramount for Oklahoma's success and obviously his success. But he's one of my favorite players, period, man, in college football going into this year. I love the way he plays, and I love the way he carries himself, his attitude, leadership, all that stuff. Hearing all the stuff, like he's done everything right going into Oklahoma this offseason, and hearing that he's already like a team leader and stuff. He's helping recruit the 5-star quarterback that they just brought in out of the state of Texas that they just got committed the other day.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Mateer's going to have a big year, man, if he stays healthy at Oklahoma. I can't wait to see what he looks like, though, against the competition. Like you said, Oklahoma's going to be playing this year.
Yeah, week 2, man. They get to host the Wolverines. They're
hell of a defense
at Gaylord. Yeah, and it's going to be a great defense. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be off the charts. That's going to be his first time, prime time, being able to showcase his stuff really to the rest of the world.
Give me some Bryce Underwood and John Mateer and the Wolverines and the Sooners in prime time, baby. Fire me up, Tyler. Let's go. Why is this game not on right now?
I know. Number 6, Marcel Reed, Texas A&M. He didn't start till Connor Wigman unfortunately went down with an injury last year for the Aggies. I think he started that first game he started was that Florida game, right? Like week 3.
I think that's the first game he started. Yes, I think.
Yeah. And he really, I mean, honestly, I think when most people kind of took to Marcel Reed is when they saw him against LSU.
Yep.
And I don't know if you have it in front of you. Do you know what Marcel Reed's passing stats were against LSU?
Did he even complete a pass?
2 for 2 for 70 yards.
Okay, I was going to say, 70 yards, 70 yards. But yeah, but he had the 3.
2 for 2.
Yeah, it was 2 for 2. But I just remember him running that, again, pun intended, that Reed option that obviously carried over for LSU, not being able to stop that against Alabama a couple weeks later against Jalen Milroe. But yeah, dude, I think he had 3
rushing touchdowns.
3 rushing touchdowns. 3 dude, he was running wild. I think didn't he have over 100 yards rushing against LSU?
9 carries for 62 yards.
Okay.
But
and 3 rushing touchdowns though.
3 rushing touchdowns. Everyone was all high, like A&M. That was when they were 6-1. They had won 6 straight since that Notre Dame loss. And then they go to South Carolina, Williams-Brice the next week, and just get humbled. And it's not a good look. It loses by 24. After that, I mean, up and down season for Marcel Reed, I would say.
He finished. He didn't finish the year strong. He didn't. That game in Columbia that you're referencing, that game against Texas. Again, think about who we're talking about. Who these guys are playing, though. You know what I mean?
Lost to Auburn in 4 overtimes. Lost to USC in the bowl game.
He was really good on the road at Auburn. Dude, the atmospheres that this guy, as a redshirt freshman, first-year starter, redshirt freshman, the types of moments and atmosphere. He played in the swamp. He had to go to Auburn at night in that game that we're talking about. Swag surfing going on all over the place. He had to play in Columbia at night in that crazy atmosphere that game. And then he had to play in that crazy I know it was home, that crazy atmosphere at home in College Station, that renewal of the Texas A&M rivalry game against one of the top 3 defenses in the country in Texas, and that great defensive line that Texas had. And, dude, the guy he averaged 4.7 yards per carry last year at the quarterback position, which was number 1 in the SEC. And there were some good dual-threat quarterbacks like LaNorris Sellers, like Jalen Milroe. I mean, Lagway can move too. There's some solid dual-threat, Diego Pavia. There's some solid dual-threat guys in the SEC, and he averaged more yards per carry than any of them. And I just think with it being year 2 in Colin Klein's system, him being the guy now, like he's the guy, the weapons he's going to have around him. I mean, you can make an argument, man, that Texas A&M upgraded their overall wide receiver position just as much or more than anybody in college football as far as what they were the previous year to what they're going to be this year with KC Concepcion and Mario Craver and now Terry Bussey kind of finding a home at the receiver position, obviously the tailback position, bringing back their entire offensive line. I mean, this is, you want to talk about breakout potential. I know that he you could say maybe he broke out last year, but I think he's got a chance to have a huge year, man, if he can stay healthy with everything that Texas A&M is going to have around him.
Yeah, and you talked about those atmospheres. I mean, he's going to get it week 3 at Notre Dame, then he's got to go to LSU, got to go to Texas this year. So, I guess, last year was a good learning experience for him, some of those road environments. So, speaking of Mr. Number 7 here on our list, Diego Pavia, Vanderbilt quarterback. Never in, I don't know how many years we've been doing this, man, 3 years that I thought we'd be ranking a Vanderbilt quarterback in the top half of the college, quarterback rankings. But this is a guy where I'm not going to sit here and just read any of his stats because his play on the field, his impact on his team goes way beyond stats. And obviously, he's got the running game. They've got the perfect system for him to be running. But, dude is just a winner. He's turned into quite the trash talker here recently.
Yeah, man, he's gone on some pods and gone on some shows, and just the attitude that you see he carries on the field with him, he's carried that into some of these shows. But hey, that's refreshing though, man, that he's honest and he's not just giving coach speak or player speak. I mean, he's speaking his mind.
And he's trying to get Vanderbilt there, right? Think how hard that is to do, to get Vanderbilt into the echelon where they can compete. And maybe NIL has helped them. They're a private school. They've got a lot of big donors. Nashville. I mean, to his props, maybe they could run the state of Tennessee. I find that hard to believe.
No, don't say that. They cannot. There's no way. No way.
Yeah. Folks in Knoxville aren't going to let that happen.
That'll be the most shocking thing that we've seen ever in college football, if that ever were to happen. I feel confident in saying that. And dude, this guy was the 2023 Conference USA Offensive Player of the Year at New Mexico State. Again, obviously I realize that's not the same level of competition, but he was really good before he went to Vandy. He took New Mexico State into Jordan-Hare and beat Auburn when he was in New Mexico State.
He's playing with players who are New Mexico State caliber too. So you got to take that into consideration.
Exactly. And what you told me this recently was, what did you say? He was 4th in the SEC in rushing?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's
period.
at least top 5 for sure.
Right. Top 5 in rushing, not from the quarterback position, like overall.
Overall, yeah.
Yeah. He was AP second team all SEC quarterback last year. He had over 3,000 yards total last year, 2,300 passing, 800 yards rushing. And he set a Vandy program record for minimum amount of interceptions with only 4 picks. So, yeah, man, like you said, you can't – I know he's got some good numbers. He does to back it up while we have him at 7. But his biggest measurements are not his numbers. It's absolutely like you can't measure Diego Pavia's heart. Diego Pavia's heart and
Diego Pavia.
You can't measure his heart and his passion and his leadership, all the things you talked about, man, like the way he builds up his team around him. Like you want your quarterback to elevate the play of the rest of your team on both sides of the ball, but especially on the offensive side.
Yeah.
You could make an argument that nobody in college football elevates the play to a certain level that he does his team. I mean, he's got Vandy out there competing their ass off against the best competition in this sport. I mean, he's sitting there in the fourth quarter against Texas last year and all their 900 5-stars and zillionaires on their roster, beating Alabama like they're doing, beating Auburn at Auburn like they're doing. Yeah. Like, just remarkable, man, that he does what he does. And I know some people would probably think that there's other people that we haven't mentioned yet that are better than him. I'm sorry. They haven't proven it to me yet. They're better than Diego Pavia.
Coming in number 8, it's not a quarterback from Georgia. It's not a quarterback from Alabama. We're going to roll with the Lane train and Ole Miss, quarterback Austin Simmons. This is probably our one that's probably the most kind of expectation ranking right here.
Yep.
Because he's obviously saw limited, action with Jackson Dart, being quarterback for the Rebels last year.
Yep.
But everybody saw him come in on that drive, second drive of the game, maybe third drive of the game against Georgia.
It was the first. It was either 5 for 6. It was either opening drive or second drive.
It might have been right after Dart got hit, maybe fumbled the ball, threw an interception, something like that.
Hurt his ankle.
Simmons comes in, goes 5 for 6, 64 yards, leads a touchdown drive, and kind of really just sparks the Rebels, and they go on to win that game 28-10. So, again, it's a Lane Kiffin quarterback. They're going to have the weapons. They run the offense. He's got to be up there.
So this list is we're projecting who we believe is going to be the best quarterbacks in the SEC this coming year. I feel pretty damn confident in projecting that Lane Kiffin and Charlie Weiss Jr.'s quarterback in that offense is going to have a big year. And Kiffin, in the 5 years that he's been a head coach at Ole Miss, has never not had a quarterback that ranked top 5 in passing yards. 4 of those 5 seasons, their quarterback ranked top 3. And then you couple that with what he did before he got to Ole Miss, obviously as an OC, what he was as a head coach at USC, what he did with his quarterbacks there with Matt Barkley. I mean, personally, again, with my team, I saw what he did as an offensive coordinator at Alabama with a converted running back in Blake Sims. He had him throw for over 4,000 yards. He had Jake Coker, Jake Coker's doing podcasts like this somewhere down in Mobile and hanging out at the Floribama and drinking Miller Lite. And he had Jake Coker winning national championships and outscoring Deshaun Watson and Clemson in the national championship game. He had freshman Jalen Hurts, who literally had issues that year completing a 4 pass. And he had Jalen Hurts as the the overall SEC Offensive Player of the Year. So I feel like pretty confident that we can project that the guy that is a very highly rated recruit coming out of high school, 6'4", 225-pound dual threat guy that is one of the most talented quarterbacks that Lane Kiffin has ever coached, is going to have a good year in this offense with the weapons he's going to have around him, like Deshaun Stribling, who they brought in the transfer portal, other guys. I mean, it's Ole Miss. They've got portal guys everywhere. Yeah. He's going to have a big year, man, if he stays healthy at Ole Miss. And if we're wrong, it's because someone everybody, most folks leaving us are projecting that Alabama's going to have a big year. If that happens, probably Ty Simpson has a really good year for Ryan Grubb and Kalen DeBoer in that offense. So there are other guys that we haven't had listed here. Like if
Auburn, Taylon Green. We got
Taylon Green at Arkansas. That's
Jackson Arnold.
Yep.
Gunnar Stockton.
Yep.
Ty Simpson.
That's probably the 4, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's I think this quarterback class in the SEC, like they're maybe not the most talented we've ever seen in the conference, like overall group, but like
Deep.
Man, they are super intriguing to watch.
Yeah, it's deep, and all 4 of those names you just named absolutely could be up on this list and very high on this list.
Yeah,
in a hurry with
for sure.
Obviously with the teams they're going to have and the talent they're going to have.
Yeah.
So this was fun, man. This was good stuff.
Yeah, that's it for our quarterback rankings, man.
It is. It is. I didn't do mine. Who I think we're most wrong on. I honestly don't know. I don't know. I don't have one that I think that jumps off the page on this one the most.
Honestly, if I had to just go off the cuff right now, like I think we're probably most wrong on putting Marcel Reed at 6. Like I think he's too high.
Okay.
Yeah, there's just something about him. Like I think he's got the potential, but I'm not sure. Maybe it's my overall pessimism on A&M as a whole. From all the years they've let us down, but it's not sure he's up there.
Yeah, I understand that. I just think the talent he's going to have around him and all that. Yeah, he's going to have a big. He was Mr. Football coming out of the state of Tennessee.
Yeah,
I didn't know that until we were breaking all this down.
Yeah.
But no, man, this was fun. Yeah, this concludes all of our top quarterback rankings in all 4 of the Power 4 conferences. We'll be posting it to all of our socials. Hop on Instagram, follow us on Instagram, follow us on X, TikTok. Get on there. Definitely subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Apple and Spotify. And yeah, when we post these lists to social media, do like everybody else does. Jump on there, argue, tell us how trash the list is, tell us that we don't know ball. But do us a favor. Have the guts to post your top 8 so I can sit there and tell you how you don't know ball.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Stay tuned for July. It'll be the last month before we have football on our screen. We're going to come at you with a ton of content in the month of July. We're going to come at you with a couple interviews. If you're an analytics nerd, you're going to love it. If you are a preview magazine nerd, you're going to love it. It's also preview magazine season, so go out and get your preview mags. We're going to be doing a lot of stuff in July, just creating some content for you. But that's it for the quarterback rankings, and we will see you next time.